This is The Daily Rule. I'm your host, Bryce Prescott, and welcome to your insider access to the mindset, skill sets, and habits of the truly successful. These rules of success are short 10 to 15-minute messages, making it easy to consume and share for maximum impact. Here's today's Daily Rule. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of The Daily Rule. Naturally, this, of course, is your host, Bryce Prescott. I'm excited for this episode, namely because there's been some major upgrades that have happened here to the podcast. If you're watching this on the video, you're seeing my fancy new microphone setup. I'm upgrading my video here very soon. I'm fully committed to taking this podcast to the next level, especially with video and content and all that. As I've looked back at the library of what we've been able to create together, and I really do mean that. It's been a partnership. If you're a listener of this show, you have been a key part of why this goes on. If nobody was listening to this show, I wouldn't keep doing it. And so thank you so much for being a part of the podcast and of the show and reaching out to me. For those of you that are members of the Daily Rule Facebook group, thank you for that. That's an open invitation. It's a free group. Please join me there. The link to that is in the episode description. As well, I do have my paid group, which is called the Accelerated Science of Success. It's a group coaching opportunity. I do weekly trainings there. It's pretty killer, and I'm excited for to grow that group. And I know that there's some people that listen to this show that actually aren't in the group yet, so I want to change that. But today I wanted to talk about something very simple. I find myself getting too cutesy when it comes to the messaging of what I feel inspired to share on this podcast. Sometimes I think, oh, they've heard that before, or this is a message I've really spent too much time on sometimes. And then it kicks me in that I'll go back and I will actually listen to my own episodes, and I'll look for different things that might inspire me in an odd way for my own messages and podcasts. And I realize that sometimes the things that we need to hear the most are the things that we're still already hearing. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Being in the space that I'm in, both in my comedy career and the podcast that I have there, Grab the Mic, as well as here with the Daily Rule with my coaching, I also have found myself just almost by default being a podcast consulting specialist, where my main focuses are, of course, my personal coaching, my executive mindset stuff, as well as my comedy. But it's so easy and second nature for me with what I've learned over the years being a podcaster to help other people that it's people have started reaching out to me, hey, can you help me with this? And I've actually created a curriculum and a program, and I produce episodes for my team at least produces episodes for several other influencers and coaches. And it's become something that I'm actually quite excited to talk about here, because the message to which I share on my very first consultation with a new potential podcast client is a message that matters for you in everything that you do. Now, the majority of the listeners of the show are people that have, in some form or fashion, control of their money. I like to call them half in, half out professionals. You're either in sales, you're business owners. Basically, there's a connection, a correlation between you leveling up your position and your mindset, skill sets, and habits, and you making more money. Now, with that understanding, it makes it so that you have to then understand two key things that a lot of people just haven't been able to articulate, to really dive into. And these two key things are this: what problem do you solve, and who do you solve it for? So, to give you some behind the scenes, for this podcast, as I just shared, the listeners of this show are what I call half in, half out professionals. Those are the people to whom I solve a problem. This podcast solves a problem. The problem that it solves is it gives you daily reminders, week daily reminders of the mindset that is most efficient for you to adopt, the skill sets that you should be working on acquiring, and the habits that will transform your entire life. So the pain that's associated with those different things is things like your mornings are out of control, your relationships are out of whack, your money's probably out of whack, your fitness is out of whack. All of those things go into this: what problem do I solve and who do I solve it for? Now, I want you to think about that as you listen to this episode. No matter what you do in your business, you solve a problem. If you are not able to articulate exactly with detail what problem it is that you solve and who you solve it for, you are not making as much money as you could be. It's quite simple. I've had people say, well, it's not really like that, Bryce. I sell windows. I don't really solve a problem. Well, you need to dive in and realize what your product actually solves. If you're a Windows salesman, there's all sorts of things that the idea of replacing your Windows solves as a problem. Security. Worry about money because money's flying out the window because you're losing energy with crappy Windows. Safety for your family. There's a bunch of different things. It becomes very heady, but you need to do this. You need to dive in and figure out exactly what problem you solve and who you solve it for. It's very simple. It doesn't matter if you're selling chapstick, you're selling cars, you're a real estate agent, you work in title, you're a real estate developer, you're the CEO of a company that sells newspapers. I don't care. If you can't articulate the answers to those two questions, what problem do you solve and who do you solve it for, you're not making as much money as you could. Because here's the reality, right? For those of you that have been in sales, you understand this. You can never sell anything that you're not fully on board with. If you don't believe that the product makes a difference, you're not going to ever be able to sell it at the highest level. Or the sales that you do make, you're going to feel guilty about because you're going to be coming from a place where you feel like you're manipulating your potential customer. Well, that doesn't help. That doesn't put you in a position where you're feeling better about the work you're doing on this planet or your contribution or the money that you make. When you feel like you're doing something for the wrong reason, it affects everything. So how about we switch that up? Let's dive in and really figure out what problem do you solve? Why is it important that the service or product that you have is in the hands or lives of the potential people that you're working with? Maybe you work at a golf course. Maybe you're a ski instructor. These are not like direct answers. Like, I don't know what problem a ski instructor solves. You ever had that feeling when you're learning something difficult of just feeling like you got the right person on your side, that it's going to be okay because you have the right mentorship, you have the right connection, you have the right expert? That's what a ski instructor solves. So coming from that viewpoint when you're doing your stuff makes it to where you have a better connection. The whole point of all this is that I'm realizing as I do more and more of these episodes and as my business progresses more and more, as I upgrade and up-level the different aspects of my life, I'm seeing that there's all this foundational stuff that starts to expose itself if I didn't handle it properly. So if you're a part of a business you don't believe in, or you're selling a product and a service that you're really not jiving with, you need to fix that. You need to either figure out what you don't believe in and why you should, and dive into what's really great about the product or service that you offer, or you need to switch. Now that's a conversation for another day. But my point is this: it's very important to get tactical on knowing who you are solving the problem for and what problem you are solving. When you can understand that, then it becomes very easy to scale and to make a bunch of money and to make a bunch of impact and all that stuff. All these key words, all these things we keep hearing: impact, income, create value. For what? What value are creating? If you don't know who you solve, if you don't know what problem you solve and who you solve it for, how can you say you're valuable? How can you say you create value in the marketplace? You have to be sold on your own stuff. But in order to be sold on your own product, you have to know what problem it solves and who it solves for. Very simple sales stuff, very simple marketing stuff. Don't you ever make another ad or spend a dime on marketing if you don't know who you're trying to appeal to. Saying, discount 20% for Labor Day, whatever, that doesn't do anything. That's just feeling better about your business because you think you're advertising because that's hoping to get business in. You have to get really deep into the heads of the people that are your ideal client and then speak their language by, again, I'm hounding on this a bunch, what problem you solve and who you solve it for. It's quite simple. We overcomplicate things way too much, especially in business and in money and in mindset. It's not complicated. So get clear. Anytime you're going to open your mouth about your business or your product or your service, you need to know exactly what problem you solve and who you solve it for. That's it, guys. I'm wrapping this up. That's today's rule. Know what problem you solve and who you solve it for. By the way, for you guys watching the video, I'm just looking sharp. I got the pocket square. My boy Terry McDonald, one of my clients and great friends, told me I needed to bring that in when I'm wearing my suits. And I got my new Joe Rogan mics, which are pretty cool. This, the Shure SM7B. Time to level up, people. You know the drill. Love your life, live out loud, and like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time. I'm out of here. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Daily Rule. If you'd like assistance applying today's rule to your life, I invite you to click the link in the show notes and download my free assessment tool, The 3 Methods, that helps you to know exactly where you should focus your attention for the quickest transformation. As you're aware, the opportunities to be coached directly by me are limited, but if you'd like to see if you're a fit for us to transform your performance and your mindset together, making your life exactly what you've always hoped it would be, reach out to me at bryce@rulesofsuccess.com. Also, if today's episode resonated with you, I ask you please head to iTunes and leave me a 5-star rating and review. That link is also in the show notes. Thanks again for joining me for The Daily Rule.